agriculture domain from past 20 plus years, and now we have shifted our major focus on urban agriculture, so that the people who are living in urban areas, city dwellers, you can say, so that they can also connect with mother nature and have that access to fresh and quality produce that they can easily grow in their balconies, terrace gardens, or even in their small balcony gardens, or you can say backyard gardening. So yeah, we are working in the urban domain from past 3 to 4 years, and I will be speaking about some of the topics and some of the major role that we play as a urban farming company. So yeah, so first I can say the problem that exists in this world, or in India as a whole, in cities basically. Uh, there are major problems which you can also visualize here on the screen. That is, number one is unavailability of fresh produce. So you can say there are majority of spoilage, food waste is there, especially in weddings, you can say, or during the during the transition mode, when there is transportation from one city to another, from railways or from airways, or you can say by trucks. So there is food loss. Basically, food wastage is greater in urban areas as compared to rural regions. So the major factor driving force of that is due to transit, due to transportation. So this major problem can be uh, completed, can be overcome by the use of urban agriculture, by growing food on your local premises, by gardening itself. So you can also get access to fresh produce, as well as you can eliminate that food wastage as well. Next major problem that we face today in our society, in our cities, is that limited green space. You can say by visualizing this picture, it's a city or suburban area. So you can see the trees are rarely scattered. You can actually count the trees, but you can't count the number of houses that are incorporated or congested in this small area. So limited green space is basically when you don't have access to larger green areas, green cover, forest cover, or you can say landscape covers are basically limited. So this whole landscape degradation is also a major problem, driving force, which leads us to urban farming. You can say there are a majority of urban spaces. There are terrace gardens that can be developed here, balcony gardens that can be developed, which will ultimately deter the heat island effect. This whole area will become much cooler as compared to these concrete jungles. So next problem that we face in urban regions or in cities is noise pollution. So noise pollution is also another factor which can be overcome by gardening, by planting afforested lanes, or you can say companion plants. We can use large trees that we are having. We can use that in our urban areas to combat that noise pollution, plus that air pollution as well. Air pollution is also a major factor which city dwellers basically face. So that air pollution can also be controlled by using dense plantation, reforestation of areas, creation of green spaces, creation of urban parks or terrace gardens. That air pollution as well as that noise pollution can also be harnessed, can also be controlled up to a certain limit, up to a certain manner. Next problem that we are currently having in our country is environmental degradation. So as you know, India has become first major populated country in the world, eliminating China. So yes, that's a reason why we are having this environmental degradation problem because of expansion of cities, construction of new cities. Even in Dehradun region, there are even in Uttarakhand state, there are planned to create more 5 cities, which will ultimately because we need to empower, or you can say accommodate a major population, because population number is continuously increasing in our country, and we need to accommodate that also, but ultimately it also leads to environmental degradation. But this can be harnessed, or this can be eliminated by creating cities similar to green areas such as garden cities, or you can say cities like Chandigarh, which is a plant city. We have many avenue plantation of trees. We have green parks, green belts. So in that way, we can also have our new urban planning can be developed, and new cities can be developed which are surrounded by complete green spaces, and by not creating these urban or concrete jungles which are surrounded by concrete only. So this is also a problem that leads to urban farming. And last is stress and mental health issue. So in urban areas, majority of population is 9 to 5 jobs, so they have corporate issues, they have corporate jobs, going to from 9 a.m. coming back to 5 p.m. So this 9 to 5 cycle needs to be break up. It causes basically stress and mental health issues in urban dwellers, which can also be harnessed or can be eliminated up to a certain limit by planting urban gardens, by creating green spaces in your balcony, whatever space you have, whether it's a small space, a larger space. If even if you have a terrace only, you can create green spaces, and you can harness sun's energy, basically solarized energy, which India has tremendously, to create green spaces. Because there's the limit is nothing. You can basically create various urban gardens, urban landscapes, landscaping gardens, Japanese gardens or English gardens, as well as edible food forests can be created on your terrace or on your premises, whether you have a land or whether you have some concrete space like terrace or balcony gardens. So this can be done. So basically these problems are there that basically leads to the concept of urban agriculture or urban gardening, and establishment of nurseries, establishment of food forest, landscaping areas. Ultimately these problems are the major driving force that leads to urban gardens. So next, I would like to speak on some background that we have as a sole urban farming company. So initially, we started this as our concern because of our surrounding environment that I just talked about. That we are having these major issues from past, you can say, 50 plus years. So there are many high-rise buildings in the cities or even in suburban areas that ultimately leads to urban heat island effect and suffocating pollution effects, whether it's noise pollution, sound pollution, or light pollution. So this heat island effect, as you may have heard before, heat island effect is basically what causes the trapment of heat. It creates a small island of heat which doesn't allow heat to escape at the night time. So everything, the heat or sun rays that are coming, ultraviolet rays that are coming in the daytime, they are basically trapped in those concrete buildings. They are trapped in those concrete cement. So and that doesn't escape out during the night time. So this basically causes a combined heat island effect. It creates a heat island, and the surrounding temperature of that this heat island is comparatively lower because of rural areas, because of tree plantations, because of landscapes that are green in nature. But this heat island, that is the major city island, is basically higher in temperature. So this is the main cause that we need to eliminate by planting green spaces, creating new urban gardens, kitchen gardens, and we can basically harness the sun's energy and create something productive, something beautiful, and something aesthetic by creating urban gardens. So yes, we empower individuals to grow their own food at home, which can ultimately reap you benefits such as improved nutrition. You can grow your own homemade compost bin. You can create your own compost. You can create your own vegetables, fruits, trees, and herbal gardens that you can create in your urban areas. Plus, ultimately, you will eliminate that heat island effect. Plus you will have a deeper connection with the mother nature. So you will have a basic major connection that the city dwellers or urban individuals are missing nowadays. Children are not even aware of where a tomato comes from, whether it's a root vegetable or it's a fruit of a plant. So it will ultimately create a deeper connection with mother earth, with nature. Some fact I would like to say in this context is that on an average in our world, in our on our earth, planet, an average person is basically having 422 trees per person. So that means for every single person, there are 422 trees, except India. And only Indians, if I talk about India, if I talk about Indians only, so there are only 28 trees per person in India. So this is a major issue which we need to tackle, as climate change is also a truth. It's not a myth anymore, it's a reality. And this is a major fact that you can see here, that there are 422 trees on an average for a broad person, for a foreigner person, and as compared to Indians, we have only 28 trees per person. So this is a major effect that we need to eliminate. And the only thing that we can do, because we have major cities, we have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities, we have urbanization of rural landscapes as well, we have industries as well. So we need, what we can do is by planting more and more trees, by creating more community gardens, by creating more green spaces, we can eliminate this effect, and we can ultimately increase the number of trees per person in India from 28 trees per person. Okay, something that I need to talk, that we as Soul Urban Farming do, is that we bring nature basically closer to your home. So we bring nature closer to individual spaces, to individual gardens. It can be through cocoa coir pots that we use, or it can be through natural fertilizers that we use. And ultimately, we create or increase the green open spaces by landscaping, by transforming the living space to into a sustainable oasis basically. So you must be aware, individuals must be aware about the biophilic design that uh, everyone talks about these days. So biophilic design is basically a new concept. It's not that new concept, but it's definitely a new concept to urban dwellers by incorporating green areas to their urban living. That is biophilic design, by incorporating nature in our lives, daily life. That is biophilic design. So yes, we create biophilic designs, we create urban spaces that are in comparison incompatible to the mother nature, and we create green areas as well. Next thing is, what we do is empower individuals to grow their own food, because ultimately good food is good health. So basically, the amount of good food, healthy food, and quality food that you produce in your own garden, it will ultimately act as a medicine, as compared to that material which is coming from areas and areas and areas, by transitioning, by transformation, and by transportation from various other cities or other rural landscapes. It ultimately have some negative impact. Their nutritional quality degrades over time. Plus, it also have some negative impact on health if it's chemical produced. So yes, you can grow your own organic, natural, homemade food that you can grow in your balconies, in your terrace gardens, in your landscape gardens, in your backyard gardens. Okay, so something that another thing that what we also do is we conduct free online webinars as well, to for individuals so that they can dive deep into kitchen spaces, kitchen gardening concept, urban gardening concept, and urban agriculture concept. So we create generally awareness by creating these free online webinar sessions. Other thing that we have is we have multiple products that meets all the gardening needs of individuals. Another thing that I would like to add is we provide free gardening consultancy as well, by providing one-on-one consultancy for your kitchen gardens, how it will look like, how it can be designed properly, what plants you can grow, in which season you can grow, what type of plants, season, varieties, seeds. Basically, multiple factors are there. So yes, we do that. Okay, so other major facts that I would like to talk about urban farming is that urban farming is expected to reach US dollar 281.9 billion dollar by 2030. So it's a major factor. It's a surprising factor. So US dollar 282 average, we can say that the urban farming market, that the nursery market or the urban agriculture market such as market gardens, or you can say nursery gardens or floriculture industry, that will basically reach to $282 billion by the time of 2030. So you can see there's a tremendous, or you can say humongous scope in this domain. So next, I would like to talk about the fact of increased property value. So what happens is, by creating green spaces, what we can do is we can basically increase the property value of your house. So if there's a house or an apartment with no green space, no biophilic design, nothing at all, it will comparatively have lesser value as compared to a house which is full of plants, which have some tropical plants, indoor plants. There is a balcony garden, which is ultimately a well-maintained garden, that will basically increase the property value of your house as well. So it's also a fact that most of the people don't consider while purchasing or while selling their houses. Some other facts that I would like to talk about is urban agriculture, basically urban farming. It also incorporates nowadays practices such as hydroponics, aquaponics, or aeroponics. So basically, it doesn't require any growth media like soil or coco peat. It can be grown on other inert material like rock wool or clay balls, or generally by supporting with a wire mesh. So hydroponics, by cultivating with a flow of water, by providing nutrient rich solution, you can grow plants in your terraces, in your balconies. Aquaponics, by incorporating fishes, because the fish excreta you are that you are basically acquiring from that fish pond or from your fish tank is act as a this fish excreta basically acts as a nutrient source, because it is rich in nitrogen. So that ammonia from fish excreta gets converted to nitrates and nitrites by nitrifying bacteria present in your soil media or in your coco peat media, that ultimately can act as a growth material for your plants. So hydroponics, aquaponics, then there is aeroponics as well, by misting spray particles, very minute particles, with the help of an atomizer. You can also grow your plants with the help of aeroponics. So it basically, in aeroponics, it creates a mist-like substance. It creates a mist, or you can say a fog, that ultimately provides the nutrients to the soil, to the roots basically, and the plant can grow in, basically you can say, it grows in air as well. So such innovative practices can be easily applied in urban landscapes because of less requirement of land, utilization of vertical spaces. In hydroponics, aeroponics, and aquaponics, you can grow vegetables vertically by utilizing vertical space. Horizontal space is not that much utilized. Vertical space can be utilized and can be acquired. Plus, in aquaponics, there are two methods. There are two products basically. You can also have fish as a food source, or as a pet material, plus food material as a plants. You can say green leafy plants that you will have through your aquaponics. Next major facts that I would like to talk about is incorporation of beekeeping and honey production. So urban farming, by creating landscapes on terraces or on balconies, you can also incorporate honeybees, or you can do apiculture in your landscape area, or in your balcony area, or in your terrace area. So beekeeping basically, you can easily incorporate by keeping a small beehive in your area. It will ultimately act as a pollinator. They will be conserved. Plus, they will also increase your uh, food production by, you can say, natural pollination. Plus, third thing that you will get from beekeeping or honey or apiculture is that you will get honey or wax or bee pollen, or you can say bee venom, that is also sold in the market. You can extract various products from that beekeeping unit. Next, I would like to talk about the fruit, vegetable, nursery, bonsai, or floriculture industry. So, in urban landscapes, that this is not only limited to ornamental plants or floriculture industry. It's a combination of basically all the types of plants that you can grow. You can create your fruit nursery, you can create your vegetable nursery, you can also have your bonsai unit, because bonsai basically they fetch a good price when sold to right customers, right markets in right cities. Next is floriculture industry can also be incorporated in urban farming, because you can ultimately utilize the vertical space that you have on your terraces or on your balcony gardens. So floriculture also acts as a base of this urban farming, as a thriving market, as a market which is expected to reach 281.9 billion US dollar by 2030. So by floriculture, I mean you can search in your areas what type of plants, what type of floriculture plants you can grow, because of variations in agroclimatic zones that India have. So I can say in Delhi region, you can grow marigold on your terraces, or some jasmine varieties you can grow, as well as in southern regions like nearby Karnataka or Kerala region, you can also grow orchids, because that thrives best in that region. Ultimately, without having any investment cost, without incorporating any heavy funds in that floriculture. Plus, jasmine or mogra can also be grown in southern part of India. So yes, now I would like to talk something about the benefits that urban farming have in our lives, or that can create some benefits in our urban landscape, in our basic major surroundings that we are living in our concrete jungles. To transform these concrete jungles into rich and nourishing and flourishing gardens, in flourishing forest, I would rather say, there are some benefits of this urban farming. So number one is access to fresh and nutritious food. So yes, by growing your homemade produce, by growing your own, having your own compost, having your own nutritious, healthy and fresh produce such as fruits, vegetables, herbs, some medicinal plants are also there that you can grow in your urban gardens, in your balcony gardens. So this basically acts as a access to your fresh and nutritious food. You can always have something in your hand without going anywhere to the market, and you can easily have access to that fresh and nutritious food. Similarly, next is food security. So yes, by growing some of your own plants, by cultivating your terraces, by cultivation on your balcony gardens or your backyard gardens, you will always have a source of food. So there will never be a risk of lacking anything. You can always have food security, basically living off grid. So this is the meaning of off grid, by staying sustainable, having food security, having your own solarized energy in the form of, you can say, electricity, or in the form of your plants that they produce energy and produce your fruits and vegetables. This is basically off grid. So food security is also a benefit of urban farming. Next is reduced environmental impact. So yes, by planting various plants such as trees, incorporation of trees, vegetables, herbal plants, shrubs, and some landscape gardens, or you can say landscape plants or ornamental plants, you ultimately create you have some positive environmental impact. You create such conditions that reduce the amount of environmental degradation, plus it also improves the environmental positive impact that you create in your surrounding areas. Next is conservation of green spaces. So by planting such forested areas, by planting food forests, by creating green spaces, creation of multi-layer farming models in your terraces, in your landscape areas, in your basically backyard gardens, you are also conserving the green spaces. You are protecting them, such as wildlife uh, sanctuaries and natural those wildlife parks are there, or natural sanctuaries are there. Those are protected by government laws. But in the urban landscapes, you can also create some community garden. You can create some edible food forest that can act as a conservation unit, that can act as a biodiverse small biodiverse sphere. It can act as a small biodiverse sphere and can be used as a conservation of green spaces. Next is improved air quality. So by planting such forests, I would say the example, I would basically talk about the example of Bhutan. That is a carbon neutral, basically carbon negative country. It not only it emits carbon, but it also, their forest regions basically absorb carbon from neighboring countries like India, China, Nepal, and Bangladesh. So we need to act like Bhutan as well by creating urban spaces, green urban spaces, and sustainable urban spaces in order to improve air quality, in order to reduce pollution, in order to reduce the temperature ranges that is basically causing a greenhouse effect and ultimately leading to climate change. So next is mental health benefits. So ultimately, another benefit of urban farming is that it reduces the mental pressure. It reduces your pressure having on your brain by continuously having a circle of 9 to 5 jobs. It basically reduces the impact on mental health as well, because you will see basically how you feel by visiting any natural landscape, by visiting forest. We feel right, we feel happy, we feel anxious, and we feel basically there are secretion of good hormones, basically serotonin and other good happy hormones are secreted in our body, that are basically will be secreted if you are planning your urban farming journey, if you are creating your own green spaces. So your mind will keep functioning properly, you will have less amount of stress, and you will have more green areas as well. Next is beautification of urban areas. So as we see, urban landscapes basically look dirty and basically deserted or dry conditions are there. Temperatures are basically higher, and it always looks like a concrete jungle, I would say. So by incorporating various other plants, tropical plants, subtropical plants, or arid region plants, depending upon the agroclimatic region, we can create the beautification, or the we can create aesthetic beauty. So this aesthetic beauty is the major driving force that basically increases the property value of your apartment or your house. So yes, beautification of urban areas. Another thing, another benefit is community empowerment. So basically, in I would say in urban areas, in city dwellers or city individuals have some lack of you can say community building, because they are always busy in their corporate journeys, in their businesses, and complete 9 to 5 circle jobs. So community engagement or community building is less as compared to rural regions, where they are always already and daily interact multiple times to their neighbors and through their family members and to their basically relatives. So rural areas doesn't have this problem of community empowerment. Urban areas basically are facing these community engagement issues because of a lack of time. So but what we can do is, what we can practice is, by creating community gardens, we can have some area, some common areas in our apartments, in our societies, some common areas is always there. So what we can do is, we can basically develop those areas into community gardens and enhance our community engagement challenges. And ultimately we can build a community by growing various foods such as fruits, vegetables, herbal plants, medicinal plants, aromatic plants, etc. It will ultimately have a positive impact on community. Next is social entrepreneurship opportunities. So yes, urban farming also provides some social entrepreneurship opportunities, because as I say, you said, you can create your own nursery gardens, you can create your plant nursery, fruit nursery, grafted plants you can sell, or you can create your own bonsai empire, or you can basically start your business from aeroponics, hydroponics, or uh, basically aeroponics, hydroponics, and other hydroponics methods are also there. Various hydroponics methods are available. Aquaponics is there, sand ponics is there, fog ponics is there, but that is something another issue. So these methods can also be used as a, can also be accessed or harnessed as a social entrepreneurship opportunity. You can create a positive impact. Floriculture industry is also there, seed production industry is also there, which you can basically start from scratch from your balcony gardens. Next is enhanced community engagement. So yes, community basically will be enhanced by creating communal spaces, community spaces, community gardens. The community engagement will be increased. Next benefit of urban farming is educational opportunities. So yes, it creates various educational opportunities or chances or knowledge banks for our younger generation to come, because children are basically deprived of this chance that they will grow their own food. They can grow their own food, touch the soil, basically incorporate their hands in the living soil. uh, Practice of mulching they can do, and other easy tasks that they can harness, or harvesting of vegetables, plucking of flowers, observing various textures of leaves or flowers, creation of floral dyes they can do. So there are various educational opportunities. Awareness creation programs are also there, which can act as a benefit of urban farming. So next is job creation. So yes, various urban farming companies are there in rural as well as in urban landscapes that basically create job opportunities for youth to come. Next is waste reduction. So yes, we already all have some type of kitchen waste, some type of biodegradable waste coming out of our homes, and just dumping that waste in our uh, dump boxes, or you can say to dustbins. So that can be reduced by creation of compost bins, by creating our own compost or fertilizer bins that we can easily biodegrade in our own homes, by creating rich which can be we can say that black gold can be created by, which is also compost, by using our kitchen waste, and ultimately reducing the production of waste. Next benefit is stormwater management. So stormwater is nothing basic but basically rainwater, which we can manage properly in our urban landscape. So see what currently is happening to excess of rain or stormwater is it drains away basically. So cities don't have such a percolation ability because of soil sealing. Soil sealing is basically a property or basically a phenomena which happens when we have a huge amount of homes, or you can say creation of city in a rural landscape. So that soil is basically sealed. There is a sealing of that soil. So water, everything that falls, every rainfall, every drop that falls, it doesn't percolate or doesn't absorb to the ground or doesn't recharge the groundwater. So what we can do by creating urban spaces, by creating backyard gardens, is we can increase this water percolation ability, and ultimately increasing the groundwater levels. So stormwater management or rainwater management or rainwater harvesting technique is also another benefit that urban farming or urban landscaping gardens can have. Next is biodiversity preservation. So yes, cities doesn't have that much of biodiversity existing as compared to rural landscape, as compared to forested national parks or wildlife sanctuaries. But we can also preserve our biodiversity. As you may have seen, there are some butterflies. You will always see some honeybees or stingless bees or some mantises, or you can say locust, or you can say some spiders are also there, which act as a predator, or which are not really that much harmful to our plants. So you can always preserve that biodiversity by creating green spaces, by planting dense forested areas, by creation of edible food forest, by creation of terrace gardens. You can always increase or preserve the biodiversity of your region, of your city. Next is reduction of food waste. So it's ultimately a basically repeat benefit of waste reduction. So what happens with food wastage reduction is you create a cycle by creating compost bin, by utilizing your kitchen waste, by utilizing your brown waste, and by utilizing your every biodegradable waste basically, to create a complete food chain, to create a chain reaction which can be ultimately be utilized as a fertilizer, as a rich source of nutrients to your plants as well, by composting basically. So there are various other methods of composting. Some methods are aerobic, some methods are anaerobic, such as Bokashi composting method. So that thing is something different, but it also acts as a benefit for urban farming. uh, Second, last benefit I would like to say is is economic saving. So yes, by producing your own food, by producing your own floriculture garden, by having some trees, by having shade, you will always have some economic saving. See what will happen if you have a terrace garden full of lush green, small sized trees, say 5 feet tall, or you can say 4 feet tall, and you are having fruits, you are having vegetables, you are having herbal plants, medicinal plants are there, aromatic plants are there on your garden or in your balcony or in your backyard garden. So ultimately they will reap you some benefits. There will be some economic saving. You will have some organic natural produce in your hand from your garden itself, and ultimately it will have some economic saving. Plus the requirement of air conditioning will also be reduced by planting terrace gardens, as it doesn't allow sunlight, or it doesn't allow the creation of urban heat island effect. Ultimately that green cover will reflect back the sunlight, and it will act as a, you can say, a cooling agent. It will act as a cooler. That green space will act on your terrace, will act as a cooler, cooling your complete home, complete building. Last point I would like to say of benefits of urban farming is resilience and self-sufficiency. So yes, it creates a climate resilience, you can say food supply chain and self-sufficiency, or as I talked about living off-grid, it creates a off-grid basically mechanism. So yes, it creates a resilience, it creates a self-sufficiency mechanism. You are utilizing your kitchen waste, you are using that waste to produce compost, and you are using that compost as a fertilizer to grow nutritious plants basically. So yes, it acts as a resilient and self-sufficient mechanism. Okay, some of the thing I would like to talk about soul urban farming that we have. We have some products such as Amrit Mitti that acts as a potting mix or potting soil conditioner. Uh, all these products are natural products derived from nature itself. We have growth as our energy enhancer. We have nutrition product as a bioenzyme mixture. We have energy as a product which act as a basically floriculture and fruit production enhancer. Some other products that we have are seed packets, cocoa coir pots that are ultimately sustainable solutions. Next, we have some tools and gardening appliances such as pressure sprayers and you can say gloves. Okay. So yes, that was my presentation. I would like to tell you about something about this image. So basically, it's airport of Singapore. It's the Singapore International Airport that they have created from past, you can say, 5 years. They have created this lush green forest. It's an indoor forest. So I like the concept or the theory of Singapore country as a country very much. So their basic theory is that they used to think that we need to incorporate green spaces in cities. But in the last 2 years, they have changed this mindset, and they are now planning ahead that no, we don't need to incorporate uh, forest, or you can say green spaces in our urban areas. We need to incorporate urban areas as a sustainable living mechanism in green spaces. So this concept is basically very nice. Okay, so that was all from my side. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for so much for listening me, and you can have your question and answer session right now.
Thank you, Mr. Anish, for a detailed presentation. Now I'll take up a few questions. So, yeah, you can stop sharing the screen before that. Yeah. So, is farming knowledge needed for doing urban farming?
No, basically you don't need to have some basic farming knowledge or rural knowledge that people basically assume that I need to be have some farming knowledge, or I need to be have some concept clear before starting urban agriculture. That's not an issue. Anyone can start that urban forest, or they can uh, bring some 2 to 3 plants study them, observe them, start your own basically window garden basically on your window patio. You can create some herbal garden, you can create some medicinal plants you can have. So that will ultimately increase your interest, increase your concept, increase your basics, and ultimately you can become a urban farmer.
Okay. And what is the minimum space required for urban farming?
Okay, so there's no basically there's no fast and long thumb rule. There's basically just a single thumb rule that you need to have some space. Basically, you can start from 1 square feet, or you can always start from 1 feet as well. So you can always have a single pot planted with multiple varieties of plants. It can have a tomato plant with some companion plants like methi, which is fenugreek, coriander, mint, some tree-like species such as moringa, or butterfly pea flowers such as aparajita, or Malabar spinach can also be planted in that garden pot. So yes, you can start it with a single pot as well to be a urban gardener.
Okay. Okay. And what is the minimum investment required for urban farming?
See, if you're doing it for your own consumption, for your family consumption, let's say if you're having a family of 4 individuals, so the minimum, I would say, investment cost will be like you can say 2,000 to 3,000, or it can increase up to 4,000, or it can increase up to 1 lakh rupees as well. That totally depends upon the space that you are having, or the space that you are wanted to utilize for your green spaces. But if you are planning for hydroponics, or if you are planning for aquaponics concept for commercialization of urban agriculture, to commercialize vegetables or homegrown food that you want to sell in your urban spaces, in your market, if you want to become a market gardener, as I say. So for that you need to have some backup of minimum 20 to 30,000. Ultimately that can also increase up to 1 lakh rupees, that too depending upon the space that you have.
Okay. And what is the significance of urban farming in promoting local food production?
Okay, so yes, significance of basically of urban farming in incorporation of local food production is that uh, basically there are 15 plus agroclimatic regions in India. So there are multiple regions from Rajasthan, desertic conditions of Rajasthan, arid regions of Rajasthan, to temperate climates of Himachal Pradesh, tropical climates of northeast and southern India. So yes, by studying those factors, that which vegetable variety you can grow in your area, basically the thumb rule is, or the major funda or agenda of this concept is this, that you need to grow heirloom vegetables. You need to grow native seeds in order to promote your local vegetables, in order to promote your local cuisines by incorporating those heirloom vegetables. So in that way you can save their seeds. You can have heirloom vegetables, native seeds, or desi varieties that we say in Hindi. You can promote those by incorporating or growing those in your terraces, in your balcony areas, in your backyard gardens, as well as you can promote them by selling their seeds, by selling their fresh produce to your local market gardens.
Okay. And how does urban farming contribute to food security in densely populated areas?
Okay, so basically, India is currently on top of in population. So there is always a need to develop urban farms, or you can say increase the food productivity. So in this context, I would say urban farming can play a major role by providing food security, because we have tremendous amount of urban areas available. Corporate spaces are also there that are lacking such green spaces. There are basically tremendous amount of you can say terrace area that are just don't have any use. Basically they are falling ill, they are falling just empty, they are empty spaces that can be utilized. They have no utilization as of now, but can be utilized in the context of urban agriculture. So few individuals are also there, few companies, based companies are also there, that are renting these urban lands, that are renting terraces from corporate spaces, and are ultimately growing organic produce, natural produce, and selling that natural produce to the market. So yes, it can act as a food security. We can fulfill our food security. We can donate that food if we are having any excess of food in our from our terrace spaces to those undernourished or nutrient deprived individuals of our society, and eliminate the impact of hidden hunger as well by producing fresh and nutritious produce. One more thing I would like to add in this context is that there are some spaces in India as well. Those are they are basically growing rice. They are cultivating paddy rice on their terraces. So this is also will act as a revolution by creating green spaces, by creating cereals, by growing cereals in your terraces. So yes, ultimately it will act or eliminate the reason of or issue of food security.
And what are the environmental benefits of urban farming compared to traditional agriculture practices?
Okay, so I would say from traditional agriculture, you are referring to the chemical farming, I think. So yes, urban farming can act as a biodiverse areas. We can create biodiverse areas. We can create Miyawaki forest concept is basically very prevalent these days. So we can create dense forested areas. Edible forest can also be created that can have different canopies of trees, plus some climbing varieties of plants can be grown on them, on those tall trees. Plus we can have you can say ground covers, shrubbery plants, or you can say some herbal plants can also be grown on the ground. Some root vegetables can also be grown. So ultimately it will act as a biodiverse sphere. It will increase the biodiversity of that area. So the the amount of or the number of plants that we incorporate in our urban landscapes on our terraces, it will ultimately attract some good beneficial insect, such as butterflies, or you can say, such as honeybees, stingless honeybees, mantis, spiders. Some beautiful birds are also there, such as hummingbirds. Those will be basically attracted to your urban landscapes in your urban gardens. So ultimately creating a positive impact on our planet. They will
Okay.
act as refuge stations.
Okay. In what ways does urban farming promote sustainable and resilient food systems?
Okay, so in what ways urban farming promotes resilient and sustainable food system? So yeah, you can create your own complete cycle. You are purchasing food from the market. You have vegetable peels, you have fruit peels that you ultimately throw in your basically dustbins, and it goes in the morning. So what you can do is you can create compost bins. You can grow your own compost. You can made your own compost bins, and can harness that black gold. Basically it's called black gold because it's highly dense in nutrients. So you can harness that black gold, basically compost, which I am referring to, and you can ultimately use that in your urban land, in your urban gardens, terrace gardens, or balcony gardens. So one way is this. Another way is by incorporating biodegradable supplements, not using any plastic material, using terracotta pots, or using geofabric bags that are ultimately decomposable in the long run. You can create some positive impact on the planet. You can always have some food supply in your hand. There will be food security. Basically you will never be deprived of any herbal plants. The major example of this is mint plant. So most of the urban individuals that are having this kitchen gardens, or are aware of these balcony garden concept, they definitely have a mint plant in their home. So they don't need to purchase mint plant anymore. They can just simply cut a small cutting of that mint plant, plant that in your soil or in your coco peat media, and ultimately multiply that plant from season to season. So this way, in this way, you can increase your food supply. You can have some sustainable solutions. You can harvest rainwater as well. You can harvest sun's energy in the form of healthy grown plants, green plant. You can harness solar energy as in the case of solar panels as well. So you can ultimately live off grid. You can, plus you can, there's one more thing. If you have some more space, there's a balcony, sorry, if you have only balcony or terrace garden, then this case is not possible. But if you have some extension, or you have some land area, a small land area will also work, such as your backyard garden is there in some cities. So if you have some backyard gardens, you can also incorporate biodigester plants, or you can have some biogas plants as well. So in that thing, you can also incorporate your, you can say, kitchen waste or fruit waste to that, or biodegradable waste. So you will definitely have a supply of clean, green, and environment free energy. Can also have that energy as well. Plus, storing rainwater will also act as a sustainable solution for your garden.
Okay. And how does urban farming help in reducing the carbon footprint associated with food production and transportation?
Okay, yes, this is a major factor, I would say. It's a good question. So yes, carbon footprint is also reduced by by incorporating uh, urban spaces with green plants, by incorporating urban spaces with, you can say, urban agriculture. So the number one point is you reduce the transportation changes that it has on environment. You reduce the transportation, you reduce your carbon footprint. Second thing is you grow your own produce. So the purchase that produce you were buying previously from, you can say, market gardens, that is not sustainable. That is, I'm talking about the chemical produce, or the produce that is sprinkled with first chemical fertilizers or pesticides or fungicides or herbicides. That is not sustainable. So it ultimately creates a negative impact. But if you are having your own kitchen garden, if you are saving some food at your home, if you are basically uh, saving your food, having your own kitchen garden, having your own kitchen waste compost, you are creating, you are ultimately reducing your carbon footprint. And rainwater also act as the, you can say, it also act as a reduction of carbon footprint. So this ultimately, all these things revolves around sustainability, and it also resolves around the basic concept of living off the grid, by having own energy, having own rainwater, by harvesting it, having your own biodigester which you can use as a fuel, and by growing your own compost, by growing your own fruits and vegetables. In this way, you have some, you can say, you decrease your major carbon footprint on the planet.
Okay, just couple of more questions. What policies and initiatives can support the expansion and success of urban farming in cities?
Okay, so I would like to add some update in that. There is all the think tank that India has as Niti Aayog. So you must be aware of that. So they just recently launched a program for carbon sequestration. So it basically have this concept of incorporation of green spaces, creation of green spaces, elimination of industrial pollution, and ultimately carbon capture. So it involves all those things, and it's a recent study or recent policy from Niti Aayog, which act as a think tank for India. So yes, some other policies can also be incorporated, such as reduction of subsidies from fertilizers and chemical pesticides, to provision of subsidies in urban agriculture, in providing some garden pots, you can say, provision of seeds, you can say. Some subsidies or policies can also be changed into that context. And in this way, we as Indians, or we as Bharatiyas, can also increase our impact on urban agriculture. We can create these green spaces, and we can implement these policies.
Okay. And how does urban farming provide opportunities for community engagement, education, and skill development?
Okay, so for community engagement, urban farming act as a basic tool because we have community gardens, we have basically combined spaces, or you can say common spaces as well in urban landscape. So there are apartments, there are high-rise buildings, there are some societal buildings as well, but they always have some community spaces, some common spaces also always there. So what we can do is we can create we can have some by ultimately by having some permission from the those builders and ultimate caretakers, that we need to take this area, take this cemented building, take this common building, and we need to create a community garden. So what will happen by creating a community garden? All the neighboring residents, all the neighbors will come and put their inputs. Someone is cleaning the soil, someone is having sprinkling some compost, someone is bringing seeds. So this holistic concept basically creates a sustainable living. It creates a small community in that area. And ultimately, by taking care of those plants, irrigating them equally, uh, division of tasks, that one person is doing irrigation, another is taking care of the weeding maintenance, another one is applying mulch to the soil. So in this way we can create a community garden basically, and it will ultimately enhance the skills by children. Basically in urban landscapes are now also going to you can say urban area sorry rural areas for their summer vacations. So the basic thing is of this concept is to build up skills in them, to create awareness in those young generation, that where does this your food comes from. It comes from a rural area, it comes from your soil. It needs such type of hard work to grow one single bite of that food that you are eating. So basically it ultimately enhances the skills, it ultimately builds up community engagement, and it ultimately impacts the overall holistic well-being of the society.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Anish, I don't see any more questions from our participants. So now we have come to end of question round. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we'd like to thank you for a very detailed presentation and answering all the questions in depth. And we also like to thank all the participants for joining this meeting. The meeting will now be closed.
Okay, thank you so much for joining. Thanks to Agriculture Information for giving me this wonderful opportunity.
You're most welcome. Thank you.